Welcome everyone, and today we are going to talk about what is the term alienation, from where did it originate, and what does it mean. To start with, I want to understand that Marx or Hegel were not the first philosophers who came about with the idea or the interpretation of alienation. It is a term which was there since the very early history, through medieval history and through the modern times. So we have to understand alienation with the idea that this is not a very modern concept. A. The second thing is alienation has been described by various scholars, by various philosophers in various ways. Technically, it is a term of sociology, but it is multidisciplinary, which means that you can have the lens of history, you can have the lens of philosophy, economics, and other disciplines to understand what alienation is. So, coming to what exactly it is and how do we interpret it, we are going to start with the very idea of alienation. So, the Latin root word of alienation is alienus, which means of another place or person. In ancient Roman times, it could mean being someone's slave. So in the US Constitution, alien is a term which is legally present. It defines what? A foreigner who is outsider coming into the country. So an alien, it's not a UFO. But talking about the current times in physiology, during the time of Greek Roman empires, it meant that there was some kind of psychological balance in the mental state. Alienation was defined accordingly. As I have said, that there is the sociological interpretation of the term alienation, but it can also be multidisciplinary. For example, it can be social alienation when you're cut off from your social relations. The second kind of alienation is alienation from God, which Hegel talked about. And he said that because of the alienation, there is thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. Because of alienation, there is this dialectics. Because of the alienation, the Geist is eventually longing for its absolute freedom. And due to this, dialectics takes place. So that is one kind of alienation that Hegel talked about. Eventually, there can be an alienation of property and ownership also. Your property, your ownership in a capitalistic system where you are taken away from the ownership of that, which means that you are alienated from that concept. There was also in 17th 18th century this particular law of alienation of affection. So for example, in a marriage, if a marriage breaks down because of an outsider, be it a male or a female, the husband or the wife who has been left can cause a particular legal issue court, which can be on the basis of alienation of affection. So it was also in that realm. So how is Marx going to define it? But before that, I would like to tell you that how my experience of alienation uh, emerged and in what context. So when I was in London, it was a certain kind of alienation which I felt over there, which over the period of time, every time I go, I don't feel it, or I feel it less. But there was a very sinking feeling of being in exile when I was in UK. And at that point of time, I didn't want to just understand and see it as a personal phenomena, but I wanted to delve deeper and to understand that how other authors and how other philosophers have tried to interpret it, and what exactly is alienation according to them, in what context. So the first philosopher, first academic who you can read about is Palestinian Christian Edward Said. He was a very strong, brave, indomitable voice in terms of Palestinian liberation and struggle. uh, he very often, when we talk about Palestinian activism, we do not take into the category that there are Palestinian Christians also. We often just have the idea that these are Muslims, but no, Christians. And Edward Said was a very, very famous academic in America. So he wrote about a concept called as exile, because the kind of, his home, which is in Palestine, doesn't exist as a state. It exists as a nation divided between West Bank, Gaza, and uh, Galilee and the Golan Heights and others, and how he can't ever go back. That was one form of exile. The other kind of exile which discovered was by the Japanese author who got Nobel Prize in 2017, Kazuo Ishiguro, who talked about the Japan of his childhood. So you can look at Japan, you can find it in the geography, in the map, right? But the Japan of his childhood doesn't exist anymore. So he is in exile from himself because his childhood has gone and he can no longer go back to it. And his childhood is also a place. So these are very deep things. So if you're interested in understanding alienation through exile, you can go ahead and read their work. But coming to Marxist idea of what alienation is. So Marxist interpretation of alienation is very simple. The first concept is it is a process. So it is not an event, it is a process. It happens one day at a time. It's not something which suddenly you will get up one day and realize that, oh, I am alienated. It's a process that happens whereby the worker is, so who? The working class, the proletariat or the lumpen proletariat. So he's making it very categorically very clear that it is for the working class. The worker is made to feel foreign to the products of his or her labor. So whatever the worker is producing, he's not having any kind of connection or any kind of validation, any kind of gratification from that, and that alienates him or her or they. The origin of alienation is commodity fetishism. They understood in the previous class a commodity that we produce or we buy, the consumer culture, especially in late capitalism, what has happened that there is so much of strong validation or strong conception of buying, right? We also discussed about the concept of commodity narcissism, when you're wanting to buy something irrespective of the fact that it is causing exploitation of someone else, right? So what has happened in late capitalism is that commodities, the things that you own eventually end up owning you, right? So they have human like powers, you know and they govern the activity of human beings, and we have talked about in detail in the previous class. You can go back to that to understand it better. So this is where, with commodities, because man has two kinds of relationships. One is the relationship with the other men, women, and other identities which are not within this binary. At the same time, has a relationship with the objects that he has, right? So this creates a certain kind of alienation. How? We are going to discuss about it. It is also said that happiness is a myth which has been created for you to buy more things. So it is a very capitalistic interpretation. Again, there's no free lunch. So what are these basically talking about? So Marx, when he was in France in 1844, he wrote this book called Economic and Philosophical Manuscripts. So manuscripts on economy and philosophy, in which he discussed about alienation in detail. And you understand that at that point of time, he had been asked to leave Prussia and settle in France, and then he'll be asked to leave France and settle in uh, Belgium, and then he'll be asked to leave Belgium and then go away and be a stateless man in London. So we are going to discuss into the very category of what exactly alienation is. Also understand that since he himself had a very, very not fragile, but a very vulnerable life. He did not know where he would stay and what would his livelihood be. Also understand that it also had a negative impact on his own family, because since like 1844, when his wife Jenny was pregnant with her first child, they would be traveling from one country to the other and living in abject poverty, which is the reason why Marx and Jenny, when they had 7 kids, only 3 of them were able to have a life or longevity, right? Other Most of them died. So we have to see it from the lens that what is the price that he has to pay, and that is also a picture of alienation which is going to come into his life. So what are the different kinds of alienation? Here you can see the first kind of alienation is alienation from a product. So we have a pandemic going on, and you can see that here is Max, and Max is wearing the mask and he's a very good citizen. So he is producing watches. His work is to produce watch. Now I have told you since the very beginning, idea of division of labor came or specialization came, which meant that you're not going to, one person is not going to sit around and just make the entire watch. Different people will be employed for making different things along with the factories and the machines. So maybe Max is only involved in making the leather belt, right? So what happens, because he is so much specialized, whenever he feels as if he has created or made a watch, he's never going to have that feeling. It's never going to be his own gratification because he only created a bit of it. Now, it is very also, you can't know about all of it. So, if, for example, Coca Cola, the recipe of Coca Cola, the soft drink that you drink, it comes under intellectual property rights. No one knows the recipe of it. So that is the level of specialization which we are talking about in capitalism, that you are involved in a production of a particular commodity, but you exactly are not creating the entire commodity. There's so much of mass production also, right? Because when the Malthusian trap broke and the population started exploding because of technology and less of pandemics, what started happening was there was much more of production, right? And economists like they said that you can never have overproduction. That was the economic idea, that you'll never have overproduction in an assumed competitive framework where everyone is employed. That was the analysis. So Marxist, basically the interpretation was that because of the specialization and division of labor, I do not have any kind of connection with what I am producing, because there are many other people in the factory along with me and I'm just a small bit of it, right? So Marxist idea was I am what I do. So whatever work which I'm doing is my entire identity, and in that identity itself there is fragmentation, right? Then how do you understand it in today's realm? So for example, in journalism we have a saying that you are as good as your last story. End of it. So you have to continue reinventing yourself, continue challenging yourself, because that is not something that you just did a very good story and you have left a legacy. No. So it is a continuous battle. Production is also a continuous battle. Also, the I had a very very intellectual boss, and when I used to give her any story and I ask for, like, she'll tell me to do something and I used to ask her when is the deadline, and she would say that it was yesterday, which means that the moment where I have received the job, I'm already late. So the idea was that how production itself is a very complicated process, producing anything, right? And you are fragmented in the reality because you're not producing the whole of it. Now, coming towards the second form of alienation, that is alienation from labor. Who is doing the labor? I am doing the labor, but I am somehow alienated from my labor. How can you interpret labor over here? It is my hard work, which I am again fragmented with. So, what is happening? How is it different from being, estranged from the commodity which is being produced by you? So, what Marx is saying that if you join a company, right, we have hierarchy. There are hierarchies. You start with internship, then you get a pre-placement offer, then you start working and going higher. The moment you enter an organization, any kind of organization, you can't start giving your inputs, and changes cannot be made in the process or protocols or methodologies of how work is done according to the inputs of a newbie. Even if you spend a very long time, but at a lower clerkial level, lower middle class level, whatever, you still don't have the power to make changes at the executive decision, right? So that is one kind of fragmentation which makes you feel as small and insignificant. The other kind of fragmentation, again, which happens where this alienation is, it is because since you are creating a very, very small part of the product, irrespective of the fact that how much labor it took, how much time, intensity, quality it took, right? Since it is a very small part of the commodity which you're producing, that is the amount of value that you have in that organization, right? Over the period of time, what also starts to happen, that you start realizing that yes, I have as a human being the capacity to do labor. That is, that I have some kind of power over my own hard work. That is there. But how much will that hard work of my hard work lead me to have a certain kind of lifestyle, have a certain kind of hierarchy or promotion? You never know. So you're always questioning yourself because you're never too sure about what the system is, right? Irrespective of the fact that you have the capacity to do labor, what will happen that there's so much of population, there's so much of competition that you know that you're easily replaceable also. So you are not doing exactly whatever you're fully capable of to the full potential. So that is one other kind of fragmentation that happens. There's this concept of surplus value. So what happens is that when Marx will talk about that, when the bourgeois employs you, there's a certain part of your salary which is taken away from you. You never get that salary because it is converted into the profit for the bourgeois. So wages are inversely proportional to the profit. So if as a capitalist I want to make more money, I have to pay my employees less, right? So this idea again, so but you're still working for 8 hours, you're still working for 12 hours, 14 hours in a day. Where is all that money getting converted to? So that is the profit which capitalist is having. So once again, irrespective of hard working for 8 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours, are you able to get the monetary compensation for it? No. So there is this another kind of alienation that takes place. Within all of these happen within the alienation from your own labor, right? The third kind of alienation is alienation from others. So in a capitalistic society, or in any kind of society, there is so much of competition in MNCs and private companies and even any other kind of institution in the workspace, because people are competing with each other when it comes to salary, when it comes to promotion, when it comes to working hours, benefits, insurance, medical, the thing. There's this entire competition which gets very toxic. So in that sense, you're alienating yourself from others, who your own colleagues, right? You're not on the same wavelength. There's no egalitarian thought at that point of time that everyone should come together and everyone should grow and develop and get the best of wages. As you can see at the right side, you can see the boss who is like very, very shrewd. But the point is that so the relationship between your employee and the employer basically can either be into the paradigm of divide and rule, that there's a lot of competition and toxicity which is being created by your capitalist bourgeois employer, or at the same time there can be this entire narrative of master slave dialectics, as I told you in the Hegelian concept. So again, you are not having a solidarity or the same kind of good faith or the same kind of wavelength with every other, working. Why? Because this is the very nature of the capitalist mindset, right? And you can't because there's so much of competition. You can be easily replaced, right? So there's this alienation from others, right? The fourth kind of alienation is alienation from oneself. So I am telling you that you are beyond your commodities that you produce, and you are also beyond the labor that you do. Irrespective of both the things which we have talked about, there's still a lot of you which is left. And that is your true self, which I told you, for example, like the debate which I always used to have with my father, that he used to say that you should have a different hobby and you should have a different work, because, your hobby is going to give you the relief or the breathing space to continue with the work. When in the opposition of that, I always had this debate saying that no, your hobby should be your work, because then you will have this indomitable to continue doing work for it. You're not doing it only for name, fame, and affluence. But again, there is this entire idea that you find your own self, your little moments of escape from work, from your identity, or from your multiple performances that you're doing in your character as a worker or employee or a particular protocol. You are not in the realm of self censorship of yourself, right? These are very little minutes of escape that you have, and these little minutes of escape at the same time are not able to connect you with yourself. What is the reason for that? Why do people have a lot of existential crisis, and why do working men, women, and why do they have uh, any kind of midlife crisis suddenly when everything is going perfectly well? Because the entire idea that the system itself is broken to a degree. that maybe changing a job, getting a better salary, getting a better pay, going to a different country, going to a different kind of promotional realm is going to change it. But eventually, it is the same cycle which is going to repeat. And this cycle, and then eventually it can lead to many things like drug addiction or crime or domestic abuse or any kind of frustration which is being caused. There is a connection between all of that. These are just few examples which I'm talking about, because at a very deeper level you're very alienated from your own self. You can't connect, you don't have a sense of self-worth. You are easily replaceable. Everything is evolving around how much money you're making, what is the lifestyle that you have, what is the reflection that you're carrying out, how you're being witnessed, what is the gaze over you, what are the protocols that you have to live with, what kind of surveillance that you have to do it for yourself or by your the society or the space in which you are living. So this it's a certain kind of alienation which is very, very deep rooted and reality of the system. Now, there are two things which I want you to think about here. That there's one thing which I want to think about, that in all these examples, I gave you the idea of he, she, and they. Why? Why do I use the word they? So I use the pronoun they for uh, the identities, transgender identities, which are not within the binary of being male or female, right? So what is the pronoun? How do you call them? That is through they. That is the first thing. The second thing which you have to understand, that alienation is something which everyone goes through, and it is the process of this entire system in which we are living. So do not understand or take it as a very personal victimization of your own values or your merit or your identity, and go ahead and try to challenge it in ways in which you can. So as far as the debate continues, I'm leaving you with the thought that should your work be your passion, or should your hobby be your passion? So keep thinking, and thank you for being here today.